Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Healing and Freedom Journey. Mark DeJesus here. I am your brother from another mother, bringing you insights along the way. I'm all about mental, emotional, and relationship health. If you are too, then you have arrived at a great place. Today, what I want to get into is a continuation of a series on safe relationships, where I want to bring some insights and perspectives that can help you along the way to identify safety in relationship, to also be a safe person, and to experience the beauty of what can take place in a healthy, safe relationship. And I know all of us want it. We want to grow in it. And today what I want to get into is what unsafe people say. I'm going to give you 11 things that unsafe people say. Many in this list you have heard. Maybe a few of them you'll listen to and go, I never thought of it that way. Either way, I pray that you get some insight and some help in your discernment along the way. Now, as I mentioned in a previous video on what the signs are of a safe person, I brought out that a safe relationship is a loving relationship where both people are edified, built up by interacting with each other. It's kind of a simple start to the definition. But what I want to get into today is what unsafe people say. There is another video you can go, I did years back, on signs of relationally unsafe people. You can check that out and help you in your discernment. But today I'm going to bring out the statements that unsafe people say. And I'd like you to add to the list. What are some that you hear that are just not beneficial and not helpful for the emotional healing and freedom journey? Now, when you hear these unsafe statements, I want you to understand that they reveal something. When somebody's unsafe and they're saying unsafe statements, it reveals that person's not really emotionally healthy. And it within that, they're not dealing with their own issues. And people who are not dealing with their own issues are unhelpful and can do more damage. Okay, so unsafe statements reveal those things. They reveal that they're emotionally unhealthy. They're not working on their own issues. They can make matters worse. And it reveals this is not a person you should go to with matters of the heart, because it's revealing to you, this is the big reveal. They don't have anything to offer. They don't have anything. They actually don't know what to say. And they're not dealing with their own life. And people who are working on themselves in a healthy way often have better things to say because they've gone somewhere in their own journey. So let's get into this. All right, we're going to bring out 11 things unsafe people say. And I think you're going to identify, because you've heard these a lot. You may have said them yourself. And so we're all learning in this journey, right? The first one's a little bit longer, but it's here on the slide. When you vulnerably share something, when you vulnerably share that you're not doing well, say, hey, I'm going through a really hard time. The other person responds with, yeah, I know, I could tell. This is a real signal of an unsafe person and their lack of self-awareness and working through their own issues. And it's a way that shames you. You're already struggling with something in your journey. You're getting the courage to bring it up, to share it. And it adds shame on top of the shame you're probably already dealing with. And it shows they've been watching you, that they've been watching you with a judgy eye. They may have been watching you with a sense of contempt. And it can make you feel this statement of, yeah, everybody's watching, we see. And it's very difficult when you're working through your healing and freedom journey to feel as though, A, you're not doing well, and B, everyone sees it and is looking at you with disdain. Very, very challenging. So have you experienced that one? I think many of you have. A second one is a very unsafe statement. I've heard this, and I will say, when I hear people say this in the midst of vulnerability, is when, of all the 11, this one angers me the most. And it's a simple statement. Yeah, I don't struggle with that. Somebody steps up and shares a vulnerability of something they're working through, going through. And the response you get is, yeah, I don't struggle with that. I remember having many moments in my journey of struggling, whether it was my mental health or being a new parent or just navigating struggles in life, and hearing somebody say, yeah, I don't struggle with that. I wanted to jump across the table or take a couch and flip it. Hulk wanted to come out, Hulk angry. Because it's such a automatic, it's an immediate signal of not being safe. Maybe you actually don't struggle with what's being shared, but saying that in response dismisses the other person's struggle, and it props you up in comparison. Yeah, I don't struggle. It keeps you in the self-protective zone. I remember years ago when I moved from Connecticut to Charlotte, I was invited to be a part of a men's small group. And I was new to the area. I hardly knew anybody, so I knew just a couple people from just the real estate move and change. And they happened to be Christians. They recommended I go to a men's group in the area. And so they met at a Chick-fil-A, as you do down in the South. And at first it was great to know the guys. It was wonderful. But very, very quickly, there was a guy in the group. I'll call his name Ronald. And every time that we met, the guys would go around and we would all share. And we were reading through a book together and sharing things we got from the book. And Ronald didn't have the book. He wasn't reading the book. And it's all right. The group leader was like, okay, we're glad you're here anyways, and discuss. Whenever one of the group members would share a struggle or a battle, he would respond almost immediately with, yeah, you know what? I don't struggle with that. I don't deal with that at all. And the more he said this, the more angry I get, And here I am. I'm new to the area. I'm trying to develop new relationships. I'm trying to be a safe person. And this is the most unsafe thing I've ever seen. It got to the point where I couldn't take it anymore, but I was like, this isn't my group to manage here. So I'm not going to take this on as a burden. I don't even know this guy. And so I had to have a discussion with the group leader, and he said to me, hey, you come in, you still come in. I said, listen, I need to be straight with you and be honest with you. Love your group, love the guys in it. I can't attend because of Ronald. He's so unsafe, it infuriates me. That's damaging the other guys in the group. I can't just sit there and listen to that, because eventually I'd just have to confront it, because I have a protective feeling of safety over people. And he responded by saying, yeah, we've been dealing with that for a while. And I said, listen, you have a history with him, long history. These guys knew each other for years. And, I'm new in the group. So I'm not going to sit here and try to change the trajectory of this group. I got enough people that I'm helping anyway. And I stopped attending the group. And one of the big factors was all it takes is one incredibly unsafe person to spoil the dynamic, to put a leaven into the mixture that infects everything that's going on. That is why many groups that meet together, they establish very strong. And recovery groups do this often. Well, I know not everything's perfect, but they try to really establish this is a safe place for us to talk about the issues that we're working through and navigating through. Because not only is this statement, I don't struggle with that. That person's self-unaware, and it reveals they're in their own world of denial. Because I automatically know people like that. They're difficult to be married to, because his wife isn't going to get much empathy, get much emotional, kind of help in things she's sharing. Not going to be a good person for when somebody's going through a hard time at all. So this one's a big one. Now, the third one needs explanation, because at first many people will spin out, oh, I've gossiped. And the third one is did you hear about so-and-so? I put in parentheses on the slide constantly. Okay. Sometimes, many times, Christians hyperventilate about gossip. They think if they're sharing any news about something that's going on, I don't want to gossip. I do think we can be very obsessive compulsive about gossip, that if we're sharing some information. Just recently, I had a friend of mine share an update of somebody that I knew in ministry years ago, that he got a divorce. That was good for me to know, just to be aware of. It's not gossip to just share that information. Hey, just letting you know. How I handle that information and how I process that needs to be done with maturity and with safety. So just getting news updates, people go, that's gossip. I don't mean to gossip. We can tend to hyperventilate over that. What I'm talking about is they spend the majority of their interaction talking about other people in a shame-filled way. Let me say that again. The majority of their interaction is talking about other people, gossiping about other people with a shame-filled lens. I don't think it's sinful and wrong. Just have an update. Hey, a mutual friend of ours, they had this going on. It's good to be mindful of it, right? Now to take that and just spread it for the sake of spreading it and spewing it around. But I really want to narrow in on it's done in a shame-filled way, because what happens is many people can set themselves up as a shame gossiper, a shoppizer, in a way where that's how they relate. And it creates a position for themselves of having the scoop. It deflects attention on their own issues. It makes other people look bad in comparison. And it also reveals they can't guard and treasure personal information very well. Because when we know something about somebody else, it's not sin to know somebody's struggling. But what we do with that information needs to be done with sobriety. It needs to be done with even in the restoration process, the Bible talks about, do it in a spirit of gentleness and be sober about yourself and your own issues. When we hear about other people's battlegrounds, we need to be sober about it. To recognize we're recipients of grace and mercy. Thank God for that. And what God asks me to do is that I be gracious and merciful towards others with the grace and mercy in which he deals with me. So someone who does this on a regular basis, okay? And how they relate. Number 4, this one is a very common one in Christianity and church. I'm going to get into some churchy ones, some churchy cliches that we often do. And we need to recognize this, grab it, and understand it, because this can be very dismissing. Sounds great. Number 4 is just give it to Jesus. Another version of this is you need to just lay it at the cross. These are statements that become cliches. They become silver bullet. They become these swiping statements we use, and quite often it reveals we don't know what to say. We're either not dealing with our own issues, we're not helping people with issues, and we really don't have anything of depth and meaning. Now, give it to Jesus has meaning to it, but we use it as just I don't have time for you. It actually is a very dismissing statement, but yet it sounds spiritual, doesn't it? Number 5 is a classic one. You're just bitter. Or you just need to forgive. These are kind of two versions of the same thing. Christianity can use just forgive, or you're just bitter, as a dismissal for trauma, significant pain, and very difficult things that are complicated and layered. And so I find, are there Christians that need to forgive and don't? Yes. I have spent years and years and years working with people who blatantly, black and white, refuse to forgive. Some people hold it till they're even at their deathbed, refusing to consider the work of forgiveness. Yes, it's true. However, in the same light, there's also a ditch we get into where in Christianity we communicate that if someone is in pain, it means they haven't forgiven. And it's just not true. Nor is it helpful, because we have many people chasing, it's because I haven't forgiven, hasn't forgiven, haven't forgiven. And there's layers of things that happen as a result of trauma, neglect, or living in PTSD or complex trauma and things like that. And we're more and more becoming aware of this, but beware when your forgiveness instructions are a part of dismissing the journey and process of working through difficult emotions from painful experiences in our life. Number 6, it's a classic one. This is the one the self-righteous religious Pharisees often say, well, if people would just get in the Word and pray. Now, do we need to get in the Word? Yeah. But when it comes to the Word of God, I'm not just going to say, just get in the Word. I'd like to actually know, how are you taking in the Word of God? Because you may be taking in the Bible through the letter of the law, and it's killing you. It's killing the life of your heart. It's killing your thoughts. It's killing your journey. You may not be reading the Bible by the Spirit. And so if you're reading it by the letter and not by the Spirit, you're not getting the heart, you're not getting context, you're following distortions, you're condemned every time, disqualified, you're spinning in spirals that are unproductive, you're under the boot of accusation in your life. So to just say, yeah, just go read the Bible, well, you might need to develop, if I'm going to be a help, I might need to know, well, how are you taking in the Word of God? And two, what is prayer like for you? Because many people spend longer times of prayer than I do, but it's done in a condemning, it's done in a unproductive, God, you're far away from me. It's done in a compulsive way. And it's not producing fruit in their life. But even more, this is often this silver bullet kind of Pharisaical, it's a way to dismiss people and not get at their level. It prevents humility. Because safe people know how to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. They know how to empathize and connect with someone's going through. Bible reading and prayer is important, but these can be dismissals of actually walking with someone through very difficult and challenging things, which leads me to number 7. Stop looking to man, look to God. This is a top shame-filled statement that's used, listen to this, when people have gone through spiritual abuse, they have gone through church trauma, or when a minister, pastor, or church leader has had a falling out, and people are reacting with pain from the heart. Many amongst us will rise up and say, you need to stop looking to man. You need to start looking to God. It is a shallow dismissal of people's pain. And number 2, it is dismissing a God-given need of us relating to each other. Because this statement, what it reveals is it's just me and God. I don't need you. And that's actually a sign of brokenness. Just go to God. No. It's not just, life is not just a go to God life. Now, I need to learn how to make him my source, but how I relate to God is processed out in how I relate to you. I learn in how I relate to you and how you relate to me. Our love towards each other and us growing in that actually manifests his heart. God's ways are processed out in relationship. And we attach to people, and many people develop attachments to leaders. And yes, we have a culture of propping people up. We put people up. We have a celebrity-driven culture. We prop them up, and then we tear them down, and we lift them up so high. Yes, it's legitimate, but this statement dismisses that we're relational beings, and we invest time working with leaders. We invest time walking with leaders who are designed to be overseers, to watch over our souls, who are actually called to give a higher account because of what they stand in, because they're called to be shepherds, to be examples over people. So this stop looking to man kind of thing creates a very dysfunctional mindset. And preachers who yell this out, it's very easy to yell it from a stage. I don't care what man thinks. I care what God thinks, right? That's real easy to say. It's a different thing to live out. And what are we doing when we're saying this? Are we trying to cultivate sociopathic Christians that like, I just la. I don't care what anybody thinks? That doesn't even make sense. You're not a human being. You're dismissing being a human being. Of course you care what people think. You're trying to shut off something and you're trying to present this front. What are you, a narcissist? Are you a sociopath here? Is that what we're trying to cultivate? Just militant people that could care less, that are just bulletproof? And we have a bunch of Christians going around going, what that person said, it bothered me, it hurt. And I'm like, you know what? I need to be somebody who just doesn't care at all. No, you actually have to learn in the hurt how to grow, because you have to learn how to develop some thicker skin, but still a sensitive heart. The thicker skin is boundaries in your life. That takes time to learn and develop. So this whole I don't care what people think kind of thing that we shout out is often very, very shallow and not very well thought through. Number 8 takes a different turn because this is someone who's in a place of need, but they can be manipulative. And it's an unsafe statement. Well, if you really loved me, it's not necessarily said out loud, but it's implied. And it's a guilt manipulative mechanism. These are people that send you on a guilt trip as far as you'll let them. They don't respect boundaries. In fact, they see boundaries as unloving. And they want a codependent relationship where they need you to be something for them. And they're confused about love. And they're actually very, very unsafe. They want you to be safe. But they're actually very unsafe in how they're approaching things. Number 9 is the fixer. That as you're sharing something, a vulnerability of a struggle, most of the time what you're just needing is some empathy. Now, you may ask for some feedback and help, but this person gives here's what you need to do. That's what number 9 is. Here's what you need to do. They give you a remedy right away. They give you a thing to fix. They don't know how to just take in. And many of you relate to people as a fixer, so you always feel like you have to have something profound to say. So you often become quick to speak, whereas the Bible teaches us be quick to listen and slow to speak. The next one's a little tricky. I've got 2 left. Number 10 is a little tricky because, of course, we want to be empathetic. I'm sorry that you're going through this. I'm sorry. But there's this, hear the tone of what I'm bringing. Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. This is often brought out as an unsafe statement within conflict. Hey, I'm just sharing this with you. This was really difficult for me. This happened. I'm bringing it to your attention. Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's a common tactic that narcissists use because they lack empathy and they don't want to admit they're wrong. They don't want to admit that they've got some correction that needs to happen in their life. So they're not really sorry. They're not willing to make any changes. They're not willing to repent. And it's not just narcissists. It's people that just don't deal with themselves or don't deal with their issues. Number 11 is an interesting one, and I got to explain it. One of the most unsafe things a person can say is nothing. Now, let me explain. I'm not talking about listening and empathizing, because the greatest thing we can do to be safe is to be a listener, to ask follow-up questions, to reflect that we're listening, to not be advice givers, to be sympathetic, to know with our countenance, with our body posture, and with how we respond, to connect to what people are going through. And so sometimes it is sitting and not necessarily having to say something. I'm talking about saying and doing nothing. I'm talking about the dead stare. I'm talking about giving nothing back. I'm talking about the crickets. And one of the most painful things that people can experience is sharing something and getting absolutely nothing back. It's detrimental, it's deadly, it's excruciatingly painful. The silence can be deafening. And this is where people who are relationally passive and people that they might be uncomfortable and they don't know what to say, say nothing. They don't know what to do, so they do nothing. And within that, it brings the hurt even deeper. So where in your life, in your journey, have you experienced these in your life? And my encouragement to you is have a radar for it, because it'll help you to have discernment to go, I don't know that that person's a safe person. I can go there with the issues of my heart. In the meantime, you can learn to practice safety by first being safe with yourself in your own thoughts and what you're going through. This is practice by learning to have self-compassion, to learn to practice patience, to learn to practice kindness, because that's how God relates to you in your struggle, in your battleground, and you being that for others in a healthy way, in a fruitful way, and yes, even learning to have boundaries along the way. But which one is the one that sticks out to you the most today, and what would you add to this list? Go ahead and feel free to comment. Do me a favor, click that like and subscribe button. Go over to markdejesus.com if you like what I have to say, and you can find more materials and more resources. There's a topics page where resources are indexed. You have access to books. I even have a healing and freedom community I've started for those that want to make a deeper investment in their journey. You can also support these videos by providing a one-time donation or becoming a monthly donor to the ministry work. Well, in all things, it's an honor for me to be your brother from another mother, and I'll be back, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise, with more insights for your healing and freedom journey. But in the meantime, I'm out.